Good afternoon and welcome to the Newsroom Pub. I'm Milwaukee Press Club President Mary Ann Lazarski, and we're happy to welcome Milwaukee Police Chief Jeffrey Norman today. For those of you who need a little background, he joined the Milwaukee Police Department in 1996, rose through the department serving as a detective, lieutenant, and captain before being named assistant chief in 2020. Among his responsibilities, he served as executive commander of the Criminal Investigation Bureau, overseeing the homicide, special investigation, violent crimes, general crimes, sensitive crimes, fusion, and forensic divisions. Later that year, he was appointed acting chief. He was sworn in as chief in November of 2021 and reappointed in 2025. A little housekeeping that I have to get through before we get started. I want to thank our event sponsors. Our presenting sponsor is Spectrum News 1. Our supporting sponsor is We Energies. I would also like to thank our event partner, WizPolitics.com. WizPolitics.com partners with the Press Club for this luncheon as part of its ongoing event series in Milwaukee, sponsored by HB Strategies, Medical College of Wisconsin, Spectrum, UW Milwaukee, and Wisconsin Transportation Builders Association. And now I'd like to welcome our media panel for today. First of all, David Clarey from the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, Jessica McBride from Wisconsin Right Now, and Jenna Ray from TMJ4 News. Now please welcome Chief Norman, who will start with some opening remarks.
Sorry about that. I have to get my little notes out here since there was a binder up here. So good afternoon. Well, thank you. I know it's kind of a little lackluster there, so I will take that as you're not going to be too much questioning audience. Sound like it's a little asleep out there, but I'd just like to start by letting the Milwaukee Press Club, I thank them for this opportunity to present. I will say whether I'm glad to be here after I hear the questions, and so I'll say that for later. But before I start, I always like to start off by stating that I am so proud to be the leader of the Milwaukee Police Department. The men and women of the Milwaukee Police Department who protect our city through challenging times, through good times, 365 days a year, 7 days a week, holidays included. But I'd also like to extend a thank you to you, community, in regards that there has been some challenging times for us. I know that we lost a brother, Officer Corder. We also had a couple of officers shot, Officer McBride and Schwabenlander. And I'd like to say that the support, the prayers, the words of comfort has been definitely appreciated, and that we continue to ask for your prayers and your support so that we are able to understand that, even though we have challenging times, we know that we have a community that's behind us and who understands the challenges that we're going through in regards to the work of public safety in our community. So as I begin, where we're at right now as a city, as a department. I like to always talk about sometimes the numbers, even though I always say this much. The numbers are numbers, they're data sets, but they're not the reality of what you feel from a personal feeling, your perspective. Never will I ever want to say that what you feel is not your reality or the truth. And we have to continue to work to address those concerns so that we are all feeling like there is not only someone being heard, but also understand that we are working together in regards to concerns. We just had the mid-year report out in regards to our statistics. 17% violent crime reduction. 11% property crime 7% property crime reduction, 11% reduction overall for our what we call our Part 1 crimes, which is the more serious crimes. And let me put that in a proper context. This is on top of reductions from 2024. So here we are mid-year 2025. Again, a data set. Within that data set, let's talk about a couple other numbers. 50% in regards to fatalities as motor vehicle related. Another almost 50% in regards to carjackings. Again, another data set of where we're at. Not saying that everything is, great and no more problems, but it also reminds us that we are moving in the right direction. Now, the Elephant in the room. Yes, homicides are up. At the time, at the mid-year, it was 13%. Happy to say it's 9% now, but I always said this. Anything less than 0 is unacceptable. Even though we might be slightly above where we were at last year, it's still unacceptable. But as I put out in the press release, some of the concerns that we're seeing that are the undercurrent of what these homicides are about, we're asking for your help. Poor conflict resolution, availability of firearms to our youth. These are things that we can work together to impact, to intervene, to intercede. As the police department, we are very good at catching those who are offending at the highest level within our community. We're approximately hovering around 80% clearance rate. But if I said this to my team, I said this to the community, it's not enough to have somebody in custody for such a horrible crime. It's more important to prevent it. Again, one death is one too many. So where do we really see the opportunities as a department? Collaboration. Some things have happened within this journey in regards under this administration, working with Office of Community Wellness and Safety, working with, I like to say, my sister from another Mr. Sheriff, Danita Ball. That was a slip. I'm sorry, But those collaborations help in regards to the lift of public safety. It helps in regards to knowing that you have individuals who are willing to help along the lift. Our community-based organizations, Safe and Sound in name. Our political leaders here, our mayor, many of our, alderpersons, council people. When we work together, we are better together. And so those challenges help us through things that we already know are before us. Staffing issues, which, I've been on this project for 29 years. If there's anything I've been recognizing and working with, especially coming from my District 2 days, is staffing issues. But leaning into the collaborations, leaning into the partnerships, truly is where the rubber meets the road. So that we're able to address when we have flare-ups of crime on Hampton Avenue, or during Cinco de Mayo, or during Juneteenth, or during Water Street, or during, the Puerto Rican Fest. Understand that collaborations and utilizing our resources to specifically address these flare-ups so that we are able to show the community that we're listening, we're using our resources adequately is always important. So as I close out in regards to my statements, again, the data is the data. We are a department that leans into transparency. You see it on our particular website. We look at it from a standpoint that it's important to share where we're at, share how we can all help in this lift. But I was asked this question when I went before editorial board last week in regards to what do you want your legacy to be? So I'll start off first saying I really never got into this position to think about a legacy. I look at it from the standpoint of being actionable for the work that's doing what we need now. That's supposed to be so far off. But I did answer this. If anything I want to be remembered about the particular leadership bringing to the Milwaukee Police Department is he was there. He was there through the good times and the bad. He was there when we had COVID-19. That was when I started this journey. He was there when we celebrated the Bucks championship. I see somebody's wearing the shirt there. He was there during RNC. He was there just recently as we were dealing with our flood, between bailing water out my basement, reassuring the public with all the city leaders, my brother from another mother, Aaron Lipsky, so I got that one right. But reassuring, especially with the DPW and all the other partners, the county executive, the mayor was there. He was there. But I wanted to add something else. He cared. So beyond saying that he's there, he cares. He cares about our men and women in the Milwaukee Police Department, especially these challenging times we're dealing with right now. He cared that our city is impacted by different issues, but care enough to know that we need to lean into this work. He cares about whether you live, work, or play. He cares about you. About you. About you. And even you back there behind the cameras. Thank you for allowing me to be the leader of the Milwaukee Police Department, the privilege and the honor. And I will now turn it over to the panelists for the questions.
Okay. Chief, I wanted to ask you about technology, something you've brought up quite a bit, about something you really support. I wanted to ask you about both facial recognition technology and drones. A lot of people, since you guys have started implementing this tech or announcing your desire to implement it, have cited concerns over privacy, due process, and things of that nature. I wanted to get your response to those concerns. I know you're still in support of those things as well.
So absolutely. Excuse me. Some of the ability to intervene or intercede in regards to those who are bringing the most harm to our community has been wrapped up in a more quick and efficient manner by utilizing technology. There's a lot of examples that we can point to, especially in regards to, if you want to say, the flock cameras, of how to locate a vehicle, especially if it's been taken in a carjacking. Being able to, having the ability to intervene on those who are creating harm to our community, especially with violent crime. We have used facial recognition technology to intervene in regards to a repeat sexual assault suspect, or those involved in numerous repeat violent crimes such as robberies and homicides or carjackings. These are what is going on with this particular technology. I am very sensitive to the concerns about surveillance, abuse, but I say this as any tool that can be utilized by law enforcement has the ability to be abused. It's about what are the bumper rails, what are the expectations, what is the oversight. The Milwaukee Police Department is committed to oversight, but also committed to have that dialogue with our community about the feedback of what that looks like so that we all have a part in ensuring that we understand what this technology be utilized, what are the bumper rails, and that we know how and what we need to make sure that there's accountability measures in there. But what I say this about the use of technology, the fears that has been espoused unto my understanding, I have yet to hear in regards to what has been shown about those level of violations, which I would say is, in the words of a lawyer, speculative. But I can tell you what is now. I can tell you that there's been carjacking suspects out there on the loose. I can tell you that there's individuals creating harm in our community, violent crime, harming those who deserve life. I can tell you that there was a stranger sexual assault suspect out there who harmed and repeat offended in regards to a victim who did not deserve to be assaulted. That is what is going on. And if there's any tools that the Milwaukee Police Department can utilize to ensure that there is direct, serious, and quick accountability, we shall use it. Because it's important for us, as part of our commitment to safety to our community, and understanding that as any tool that we can use has the ability to be abused, whether there's a firearm or vehicle, we need to make sure that those who abuse it are held accountable, and that is that type of level of responsibility as a leader and as a department, because our community absolutely must come first.
Chief, thank you for being willing to field these questions. I think it goes a long way. I spoke to a number of your officers and asked them what they wanted to know from you. Mm-hmm. And one thing that came up over and over again is the Collins Agreement.
Yes.
They said it makes it difficult, if not impossible, for them to do proactive policing. Mm-hmm. After the Collins Agreement went into place in 2018, field interviews decreased 90% in 5 years, and traffic stops dropped by 79%. Reckless driving exploded. I understand you don't have unilateral authority to revoke this. I get it's in the court system and so forth, but do you support the Collins Agreement? Do you support its continuation? And will you call for the city to find a way to end it?
So, to start this conversation off, one of the things that we need to realize is how we got into this. And just to level set this conversation, I inherit this. If anything that we have to look at is how were we navigating this court order, this settlement in regards to what was necessary for the examples of how we led into this. I can see why we got the Collins Settlement Agreement. But with that being said, because that's one of the things that this administration really worked hard is making sure there were systems in place, checks and balances, to ensure that we are leaning into this work, leaning into this expectation. I absolutely do believe that the Collins Agreement should be modified. It should be heavily modified because there are a lot of things that our men and women have been doing consistently well in regards to the work that needs to be done. The Collins Agreement has a number of administrative burdens. So let me level set this conversation too. I wholly support the Constitution and following the Constitution. Constitutional policing is the bedrock for our trust and understanding that this is how we are bestowed the privilege to police within our respective communities. With that being said, there is a Collins Agreement in regards to looking for those constitutional violations, and I didn't mean to air quotes, but constitutional violations, which we have yet to see that particular repeat or serious type of examples. But we do have a cumbersome, burdensome administrative process that does hurt proactive policing. And I'm not ashamed to say that because there is challenges in regards to certain type of report and writings where we have officers working long hours that we can lean into this work and modify. And so there has to be a balanced act. We need to make sure that we are continuing to lean in and be responsible for constitutional policing, ensuring that we are following the law. But when we look at from the administrative side of this Collins Agreement, absolutely, and I have been putting forth those particular advocacy, but as you just said, I don't run this. All I can do is advocate. And one of the things I don't do, and I don't try to have this type of public messiness, just because you don't see me at every corner on the microphone, because I use that microphone for the appropriate conversations. Those conversations have been had with a number of different people. I just don't need to do it in the public. But I have been advocating, as you can see, that we have had some modifications. But yes, Jessica, we want more. I'm asking for more.
Can you be specific on how you want it modified?
You said okay? I'm just all right.
I won't do that every time.
All right, I'm just trying to be nice up here, you know. I want to be able to walk away. Well, I say this very much. The easy, low-hanging fruit is traffic stops. Our traffic stops have been consistently over the 86%. We've been in the 90s consistently. Are there ways to track and make sure that we are continuously making sure that we are being, responsible in the work that we do? We have so many checks and balancing measures. I mean, a lot of times from the city standpoint, we as a department is used as like the example of accountability and tracking. And so I believe that the low-hanging fruit is traffic stops. I mean, that's just one. But I look at it from a standpoint of just a lot of administrative stuff. When things need to be filed. There's requirements for officers. There's requirement for the supervision. There is really no wiggle room. At the end of the shift, reports need to be filed. Some of our officers have done 2 shifts. They're tired. And so to think about these particular type of requirements is a challenge of saying, man, to do this is I'm going to have to be burdened with this particular report at the end of my shift amongst all the other reports. There's cost associated with this. That's overtime being used. So there's a lot of things that we can lean into on this particular effort. And I'm not afraid to say it. I believe that we have shown ourselves to be responsible within this organization. We have many checks and balances. And I'm committed, as long as I'm in this seat, which I'm in this seat for another 4 years, you can be reassured. No foot will be let off the pedal. You'll be reassured that I will not allow things to backslide under my watch. That's my commitment.
Thanks again for being here, Chief. Appreciate it. Totally shifting gears here.
Okay.
About an hour ago, your department confirmed for us that the... Is that... No, you're fine. Okay. Is that better? About an hour ago, your department confirmed for us that the investigation into the Water Street State Street crash, where a driver drove through barricades and hit and severely injured 2 women, happened about 3 weeks ago. They confirmed for us this afternoon that that investigation was closed. Can you explain why no detectives interviewed the victims or any of the bystanders to follow up on the investigation after that crash?
So based on what I've been told and briefed about this, that the investigation revealed what was necessary for the particular, accountability measures that were put out for that. And as sad as that situation was in regards to seeing that type of injuries, whatnot, basically based on the facts of the case that the investigation revealed, this was the outcome of the certain citations issued. And yeah, so that's it.
So you didn't answer my question. Why were no victims interviewed by police, no bystanders, witnesses who were there? To our understanding and viewing your reports from MPD, no one was followed up with after the crash. No detectives had contacted the victims or had contacted any of the witnesses that were there to get additional information and statements.
So for that level of the investigation, knowing that there was officers responded, knowing that there were interviews taking place, there was nothing further that I've been briefed on in regards to needs to be taken care of for that particular investigation.
I wanted to ask you about street takeovers, specifically the city legislation you were in support of regarding the spectator penalty. As I understand it, that's in limbo. I wanted to get your thoughts on, or your what you're doing to try to push that through, if you still are, and then second, how your department is still trying to address these despite that legislation being tied up.
What am I doing about it? So that's my responsibility in regards to pushing legislation through?
Or are you advocating for it still?
We've supported it. I know that there's a number of different entities involved in this process, so I think that's a better question for them. We support having the type of accountability measures for such a serious particular offense, and there comes a point where there's more people than just me to make sure that there's accountability, especially when you're talking about this is in the realm of the political realm. That's voters and constituents and our citizens. So we've made our point. I don't believe there's anything more for me to say. Understand that no matter what particular legislation is in place and not in place, we continue to still do the work that we do. We still have deployments. We still have dedicated resources to impact and disrupt, because no matter what's going on, we're still continuing to lean into this work of arresting those who are, again, violating laws within our community, interrupting those who are trying to support these particular type of illegal behaviors, and ensuring that we are communicative with our political bodies, and ensure that we're being communicative with our community members, whether business or residents, how we can lean into the communications, because it is always a challenge to be able to know where these particular situations will pop up. And this is where we as a department are information driven. And so being able to have that particular type of dialogue, communication with our public, of letting us know when these things start to, form, that's where we can really lean into the relationship of getting ahead of this and ensuring that they know this is not the city to put those particular type of legal behaviors on.
I would say the number one thing the officers told me they want to know from you, it's a little more sensitive, your raise. You received a $65,000 approximate raise. bringing your salary to $243,000 while your officers have gone without a raise for about 2.5 years. Why did you accept the raise while your officers go without? And will you suspend your raise when it starts until they get one? Secondly, when it comes to their stalled contract negotiations, do you support the city giving your officers back pay?
So in regards to my raise, I think that's more of a matter of do I earn that? That's a matter of no one, I recall in regards to had an issue about me being, which for, other major city chiefs being underpaid. I look at it from a standpoint that if there wasn't the level of work and involvement, my credentials, the accomplishments, I believe I earned that. And it is important to look at it from a standpoint that, my days are not just 5 days a week, 9 to 5. I sometimes work maybe 12 to 14 hours, work Saturdays and Sundays. I'm actually really never off. And so it is important to understand that no one has given me anything free. The work that I do is earned, and I am very proud in regards to being able to, again, earn the trust to be able to have that type of, compensation for the work that is being done and accomplished, and the trust in regards to the leadership that I bring to the Milwaukee Police Department. As in regards to the officers, I've made a statement in regards to that. I am in support of getting this particular contract done. I've made my comments to the mayor, and to look from the standpoint that now is in the hand between the union and the mayor in regards to what are the next steps. I do understand that those negotiations are solely between those two. My part in this is to be supportive that our officers are compensated. I see the work that they do. I understand the type of sacrifice, especially as recently as our fallen officer, Officer Quarter, and that I would love to see this resolved so that basically we can continue to look at what we need to do more in regards to the work in our community.
But will you forego your raise? I think the issue isn't, I don't think they're saying that you didn't deserve it. I think they're saying the optics, it's reducing their morale that you're taking it when they're going without. Will you forego your raise until they get one? And secondly, do you support back pay, yes or no?
So the first thing is that, again, the raise was bestowed upon me through the Fire and Police Commission. This is something where I said, like I said, that I believe I earned. And in regards to their contract, I've said what I said in regards to the statement, and that basically I support that they get their particular contract resolved between the two negotiating parties, which is the union and the mayor's office.
So you specifically won't commit to them to saying that they should get the back pay, because my understanding is that's where the negotiations are breaking down. You won't commit to that, to saying that?
I answered your question, Jessica.
Chief, I assume your department obviously provides information to city leaders, aldermen, the mayor's office. On Friday, the mayor said that the driver of this Water Street crash was a good Samaritan, stayed on scene and called 911. The city's own CAD call reports show that neither the driver nor the passenger of that car that blew through the barricade called 911. And witnesses say they did not render aid either. What's the discrepancy here?
So I will have to look more into that. I did not know that this was going to be the focus of your question today. Would appreciate more of a heads up on that, but we will get back to you about that and see what we can answer for you, because I don't talk things off the cuff. I like to get a more thorough review, and I just wish we had better use of this time than focusing on one incident that definitely is very serious. My heart's out to the victim's family and the victims, but we can get back to you on that.
Just to respond to that, we have been asking questions of your department for 3 weeks now, so unfortunately that's why we're doing it here and why I'm sure all other journalists brought questions for you here today.
Understood, but again, to be prepared to talk about things in a minute detail, the T's that cross, the I's that are dotted, that is something that I'm not aware of, but thank you for those questions, and we will respond to you appropriately.
Chief, obviously lately there's been a lot of discussion around downtown and Water Street, and last week the mayor, Captain Rob Teal, they announced some changes, kind of did a summary of some of the other things that have been going on downtown. One of those things was increased staffing here downtown. Something your officials have responded to at public meetings, but I wanted to hear from you too, is this concern regarding bringing other officers from other districts into downtown and the impact that has on those districts. How can you, what's your response to that concern for the folks who live in the districts where officers might be getting pulled from?
That we do it all the time, that this is nothing new, that this is what we do as a department that is a department that serves the entire city. Been on this project since 1996. Squad 582, district number 2. Any given moment, I may have been sent to district number 7, district number 3, district number 5 because there was a need. There's a former deputy inspector in this room right now who I can look at, and sometimes you have to make that call of there is a concern, you have a squad. No one cares that squad came from District 2 or District 4. They want a squad. Yes, staffing has been a challenge since I've been on this department. But what we cannot tell the public, that if we have someone working, well, because they live in the imaginary line of District 6, that we can't send. When there's a need, there's a need. But I'd like to level set this conversation, David. We do this for Hampton Avenue when we had issues. We did this when we had Cinco de Mayo when we had issues. Because I want our officers to understand we have a patch on the side that says City of Milwaukee. It doesn't say downtown. It doesn't say out on the west side. It says City of Milwaukee. And this is where we really lean into these challenging times. Because even in spite of some of these challenges, we are still seeing numbers of situations of homicides and robberies are going down because we understand how to redeploy our resources. Would I love to have thousands and thousands of officers at my disposal? Absolutely. And as a leader, I will take whatever they give me in regards to our city leaders. But working with what we have right now, and you call for 911 or you have issues where you see chronic issues, it does deserve that level of putting resources there to ensure accountability and ensure that we are being responsive. But these, I like to say, surges are temporary because we have to understand that we serve the entire city. And so as we are starting to realign, I just had a graduation in February of officers. We had another, and we're going in another number of weeks, another graduation of officers. We are going to, we had just sworn in a, sizable class of officers. We did not get to where we're at overnight. And we're not going to get to where we need to be overnight. I ask for faith and some patience because there is that part where you have to ensure that you are not only hiring the right individuals, but they are being trained in the right way, and that takes 6 months. If I wish I could grow officers, I would, but cannot. But in the meantime, beyond even using the redeployment of our resources, but we do have collaborations with many different entities, such as Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office. Thank you, Sheriff Ball. Thank you to Office of Community Wellness and Safety in regards to those who are in the business of interrupting. We've had work with the State Patrol because that is the new force multiplier in regards to our public safety. When we are dealing with these type of challenges, leaning in with our respective partners, law enforcement and also our community, to make sure that we can still have impact.
I'm going to switch it up to something different. I want to back up to policing strategy. The broken windows philosophy of law enforcement resulted in crime drops throughout the country. It's been tried here. For example, Chief Art Jones had the book on his office shelf. I believe Broken Windows was created by a Milwaukeean, George Kelling. When it comes to your policing strategy, I have to be honest that I struggle to articulate what it is. Whereas past chiefs, Chief Ariola, for example, I knew it was community substations, like they had an very articulable strategy. My question is, do you support, at least in concept, the broken windows theory of law enforcement? Will you implement it here? And also, can you describe specifically what your policing strategy is?
Thank you for that question. You saw that book in Chief Jones' office? Okay. So, one of the things I always talk about in regards to us being able to serve our community well is being able to be connected to our community. And so when I talk about the vision and mission that's on our website that's been put out in many different forms of community engagement, I've said this many times, you do not know how to serve if you do not know what they are asking of you. And so when people think that community engagement is just nothing but ice cream cones and, cotton candy, it's not. It means that this is community engagement. Talking and seeing those who are part of our community saying, these are concerns, and then using our respective resources, looking at what can we do from the resources we do have or the collaboration we can have to make sure that we can address that drug house on the corner, that store that doesn't have the type of responsibility of serving, food that is not expired. One of the things I do talk to my team many times that we are looking at those particular type of items of disorder. Very familiar with the broken windows theory. Very familiar. I've met George Kelly. I know that right now we are working on dumping. Illegal dumping in the neighborhood is absolutely unacceptable. We saw some of the contributing factors in regards to flooding that went on because of litter in our community. And we have been aggressively going after those who are illegally dumping because we know that with those particular illegal dumping, other things come along with it. People might think you can drug deal here. People might think you can rob over here. We aggressively go after those who are creating harm in many shapes and forms in regards to quality of life issues. So I can talk very fluently about any police strategy out there, but no one strategy is the answer to it all. That we understand that we need to make sure that we're utilizing anything out of the toolbox to have effective impact. And I believe looking at the data sets that we have been putting out to the public shows that something is working. Where we can still lean in, absolutely, homicides. We understand that. But we do understand that we need to make sure that utilizing these policing strategies that you speak of, Jessica, also working with our public. Understand that we cannot do it all. We as a law enforcement sometimes have it wrong thinking that every time we open up our shirt, you're going to see an S on our chest. Being able to work collaboratively with our downtown business partners, working with our bids, working with our community-based organizations like Safe and Sound or Boys and Girls Club, understand that we have these opportunities to work with our law enforcement partners. That's the true strategy nowadays, especially when you have staffing issues, especially when you have other challenges in regards to how do we make sure that we are doing everything that we can to impact public safety.
Chief, can you explain what you consider reckless driving?
Well, I would think that driving at a high rate of speed or being very not mindful of the individuals on the road can be some contributing factors of reckless driving. Do I know it off the top of my head? No, but I believe that there's a number of contributing factors, driving under disregard to someone's safety in the neighborhoods.
Can you explain how a driver can drive through a barricade and seriously injure two people and not even have to see their day in court or face any criminal charges?
So, again, going back to what I know about this particular situation, even if this was and rose to a level of reckless driving, that would have been still a citation. And I know it's hard for people to wrap their heads around what accountability looks like. Somebody who's robbed might say, I want to go to the religious beliefs of cut your hand off for that particular offense. We as a department are rule bound. And when we have to follow rules, there are certain things that I know accountability looks like so many different ways for so many different people. Getting a citation is still accountability. It might not be the accountability you want or think it should be deserving, But when we have to work off a certain set of facts, and granted, again, I'm not all that detailed about the facts of this, but even if there was a reckless driving situation that this particular individual, to our understanding, had no prior reckless driving, that still would have been a citation. And so with that being said, citations are not anything to sniff at. I know that, people might think, oh my goodness, but it's sad to say that there are accidents in our community that unfortunately, like, oh my goodness, but it's still an accident. And so again, not to belittle in regards to what the pain and suffering these victims or the victim's family are going through, but there are certain factors that we have to utilize to say this is what we can do and what we cannot do. And based on my understanding, my limited understanding, even if it was at the level of what you consider to be reckless driving, first offense reckless driving is a citation. Okay.
Just to follow up to that, two of the citations that she was given was driving without insurance and driving on a suspended and revoked registration. If you pull anyone over, we don't have to talk about that specific situation since we don't want to talk about that, obviously. If there's a person that police pull over and they do not have insurance and they have suspended and revoked registration, how are they able to drive away and are given their keys back to operate that vehicle that same day?
I don't know, but I will look into it and see what the particular facts of what you just saying. I mean, this is what's being reported to me, so we'll look into it with the team.
Chief, we talked about 2 weeks ago, and something you mentioned to me was how the media, kind of look at the categories and find the one that's bad, right? And like to ask you questions about that. Last year,
I'm sorry, I'm not following. What'd you say? 5 to 1?
Oh, we find the one category that's on the uptick and focus on that. That was something when we talked in your office, you kind of mentioned. I wanted to ask you, because last year carjackings got a lot of focus. They're down pretty significantly this year. Specifically, what has your department done, strategies, methods, just how have you seen that progress?
Yes, I remember that conversation. Carjacking was pretty up last year. One of the things I will say that, again, using a lot of our different meetings with our partners is focus on those who are doing the most harm. In many of these particular robbery sprees or carjackings, you have individuals who are responsible for many. And because these are such a quick particular type of incident, they can do multiples within a short amount of time. But being able to focus on these individuals and build that case, it's so important to make sure that they are not able to get away with their particular violations or offenses. But also technology. I mean, some of these particular situations were assisted with the use of flock cameras and whatnot, where you're able to track and get real time where particular vehicles are at. That is important in regards to, again, these individuals have shown themselves to repeatedly violate the law, especially at a violent crime level. This is where that technology helps impact or intervene in regards to ensuring that in real time, as close to it, that we're able to apprehend those who are doing harm to our particular community. But I also like to say that I believe that our community also leaned into this. We talk a lot about prevention. We talk about, again, what are the best practices in regards to not being on your phone at the intersection, looking down, be aware of your surroundings, lock your cars, those are things that help in regards to preventing seeing danger. And so I never like to say any one particular act or strategy worked. I believe in a combination of all those that we're able to enjoy almost a cut in half in regards to the harm of something horrible as a carjacking.
Chief, you talked about collaborating and partnerships. In addition, your administration has talked a lot about the availability of guns in the community. I feel there's a lot of media emphasis on the police and less media scrutiny of the district attorney's office, the judiciary. So what I'm wondering is, are you happy with the sentences that Milwaukee County's judiciary in general give to offenders in this community, including gun offenders? And the district attorney's office non-prosecution rate, to what degree does it concern you when in recent years, 65% of misdemeanor cases and about 60% of felonies were not charged that were referred to the DA's office by Milwaukee police? How frustrated does that make you? How big of a problem are those things?
So, appreciate the question, Jessica, but I always said this, and I'll stand by it. When you live in a glass house, you throw no stones. That's where we have voters. That's where we have a lot of other different mechanisms to hold other entities within the criminal justice system accountable. When I talk about what Milwaukee Police Department does to put anyone in the way of saying that you're not doing enough is so easy for them to turn around and look at me and say, we're not doing enough. And I know that we're not Superman, that we're fallible, that we're human. And so I appreciate the relationship with the District Attorney, Kent Laverne. I appreciate the relationship I have with the Chief Judge, Carl Ashley. And I will say that they are more than capable of answering those questions that you bring up.
However, these issues affect the Milwaukee Police Department, they affect crime, they affect the community. Why not use your bully pulpit to speak out on some of these critical issues that do affect your community, your department?
I don't think we teach kids about bullying and then turn around and show it to them would be a good example of what leadership looks like. And so I appreciate the concerns. And whenever we do talk, again, this is not something that you do in a public forum. That when we do talk, when we meet, when we have these concerns, we do have robust and very honest, conversations. But I don't do that in front of cameras or in front of people in regards to that. That's not the way to do business.
Obviously, as David mentioned, we heard from Mayor Johnson and Captain Thiel on Friday about increased presence downtown, a lot of changes that the department is making. Saw myself Meridian barriers up this weekend on several different intersections. Can you talk about the purpose of a police barricade and what they're there for, specifically on Water Street, MLK? There's some on Brady as well.
All right. I mean, you probably asked that question again. I just like to say, though, I just wish that when we had a 13-year-old who wasn't claimed for a week after, his timely death, I wish you had that type of, reporting in regards to the way that you're reporting right now this. Or a 13-year-old with a firearm with an extended clip shot and killed a number of people on Hampton Avenue. I wish you had that type of reporting as you have right now. Or that when we had a number of, issues over on the south side, I just wish you had that type of reporting that you have right now. But I appreciate your concern, and I will definitely address that. But, it's definitely, just trying to understand that, with such a large constituency in regards to your city of Milwaukee. But can you ask that question again so I can...
Sure. I just do want to respond to what you said, and I appreciate that, and I hope that you can have time to go back and watch our previous reporting. We did extensive reporting on Hampton and that boy as well, and a lot of reporting on the south side. This is just one of the issues that
Not
rises
much is this.
to the top today, and we've been asking your department questions, and we've been told that they won't be answering questions. So unfortunately,
you are getting answers, but you might not like the answer. But our team will never leave you without answering the question. There's a difference in regards to saying whether or not that's the answer that you want.
And I understand that, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but I do believe I have an email that says we're done answering questions about this.
Okay.
So I can move on. I was trying to generalize the question. There's been a lot of safety changes made to downtown, including MLK, Water Street, and Brady. Can you please explain the purpose of what a police barricade is used for?
So I know that we have trying to direct crowds. That is important to use barricades for, pedestrian traffic. So that's used on the multiple times for, many different type of events where it says, the road is closed. I mean, Department of Public Works use it to close off roads. You see road, barriers on highways, so it's just a way to, again, indicate that this is not accessible for certain, vehicular traffic, and at times you can use it to, again, guide in regards to pedestrian traffic.
Chief, you've mentioned staffing challenges here throughout many of your answers. I wanted to ask you, though, about kind of the dynamic of recruitment versus retirement. I came across a PERF police executive research study noting that recruitment, while improving in recent years, hasn't quite kept up with retirements. Is this an issue for you at your department, and how are you combating it?
So it is a challenge in regards to our recruitment, being that I came in at a time period where we were able to have 65 recruits in the class. Now that we're seeing less than that, but I believe that the pendulum is swinging. I know that there was a time where we did see the resignation and retirements, but it's hopeful in regards to seeing what I just saw this recent class that I swore in earlier this month, and that we're still having a steady, recruitment of people coming in. I mean, again, we graduated one earlier this year. We're about to graduate another in a couple of weeks. And so we have been steady. It's just that based on at the levels that we are used to. But I say this, and it is important that we kind of look at ourselves about that we're all recruiters. We do utilize a working relationship with the Fire and Police Commission. Understand that Fire and Police Commission is the actual the recruitment, they have the responsibility, but we do assist, whether it's social media, where there is a number of different, going out to different locations. But we as a people can help recruit. There's many times I hear individuals saying, why do you want to get into policing? Is that the one career that you want? And if someone desires of this, why are we turning people around? I get it. It is a challenging profession. But at the end of the day, we need good officers. To hear that, well, you should go into dentistry. I mean, they told me I should be an accountant, I will say this, there are certain things speak to us, and we should encourage that and support that. And I hope that as those particular type of desires come out, that we look at it from the standpoint that if not that individual who said they want to become a police officer, then who? We all have a shelf life out here, so it's important to continue to support that in all of our particular walks of our context out there in life.
I have a question that's related to his question. Less than half of the budgeted recruit positions in 2024 were filled. The department has the lowest number of sworn officers in at least 25 years, a sharp decrease from the mid-1990s when there were over 2,100. I am wondering, I have a couple of questions baked into this, but what's the number one thing that you will do to improve the staffing and recruitment? What can the city do? The number one thing to stop more officers from simply leaving, especially when they're trying to not give them back pay. And I'm also curious to what degree you believe the rhetoric against police, the Black Lives Matter movement and protests, and the media's coverage of policing has affected the policing profession and increased recruitment and retention challenges.
Ooh,
That's a lot.
that's a lot. It's like triple compound.
It's triple. Got to get my last questions, Jim.
I see. Just like a melting pot there. Looking at it from a standpoint, what I can do is continue support to continue to be that cheerleader for our men and women, to understand that whatever resources that I can do within my particular authority that I can do, providing. I know that there was concerns about, district safety, when we had the issue of that shooting or firing in the district station, working with the business community, working with a lot of different our partners, appreciative of, the late James Campbell in regards to getting bullet-resistant glass. Those are things that help support in regards to the officers, feeling of safety. I know that we had the issue in regards to the, unexplained discharge of firearms and providing, firearms that officers can rely on. those are things, especially in my position, things that I can have, control over or being able to provide is truly, part of the responsibility of being executive, leader to ensure that those type of resources are, provided. Again, say it loud and proud anytime for the media in regards to the pride I have for the men and women of Milwaukee Police Department, and making sure that, whatever narrative is out there, reminding our public in regards to, please don't wait for a fallen officer to say thank you. Don't wait for an officer to be shot to say we appreciate you. That this is a challenging profession, especially in this day and age with all the different type of challenges around us in regards to what policing looks like in the 21st century. And so it's important to make sure that, we are all leaning in and being supportive and positive and leading from the front in regards to that.
What's the one thing the city can do different to improve this staffing crisis?
Continue to support us.
And what's your answer to the part, multi-part, about the Black Lives Matter movement, the protest movement, and the media, and how that in the last maybe 5 years has affected the policing profession and exacerbated this crisis?
I answer that by saying being supportive and ask for the media to support us in public.
I have one more.
She got three.
It's very short. This one's very concise. Okay. It's totally different. I have a question on domestic violence. I recently got the police reports and the suspect in Officer Quarter's shooting, a lot of uncharged domestic violence, incidents. The DA's office charging rate on domestic violence is shockingly low. What can be done to improve that for accusers, for victims of domestic violence in this community?
To ensure we do our part in regards to that we are arresting those who do harm in a domestic violence situation, ensuring that our reports are adequate enough to make sure that there is that prosecution, and to ensure that, again, that we do the level of follow-up and utilizing other resources, especially with a lot of our community partners, to be able to not only interrupt that particular incident, but how do you support the victim, how do you support their situation so they do not find themselves in the repeat situation of being a victim of domestic abuse again.
Okay, we want to thank our media panel. Take a minute. And we're going to have tougher questions from the audience. Are you ready? All right.
Sure.
If anybody has a question, raise your hand. Please identify who you're with and keep your questions brief so we can get in as many as possible.
Chief, you might have answered a bit, but do you have any update on the progress on enforcement on Water Street this past Friday, and just kind of an update on where it stands right now?
Don't know off the top of my head, but I know that the rain affected a lot. So, it's definitely, a weather type of situation, but I believe, I know that we're out there. I just don't have any updates in regards to what the numbers were or anything.
My name is Karen Hunt, and I just had a question, kind of going back to the very first one when we talked about the technology. There was a fatality based on a high-speed chase that happened off of Brady Street recently. So I'm wondering if you can talk about high-speed chases, and then also how come we're not using the technology, the facial recognition, the cameras on the streets to make the high-speed chases go away, or not have the high-speed chases go into highly populated areas like Brady Street?
So I know that this is a very challenging conversation about police pursuits. We got to remember in regards to what happened before when there was a reduction in police pursuits. The public was definitely pushing back in regards to ensuring that there was accountability measures for those who are breaking the law, especially in regards to reckless driving. Our police pursuits do utilize technology, and we like to see more, but those things are being developed. We had at one point, the old version of Star Chase, but that was being defeated by those who are being pursued. Technology does help in regards to if you do have cameras in certain locations for particular pursuits, but you have to have a camera in every corner then. Pursuits are very unpredictable. We use, stop sticks. And we're looking at other particular technology, but there's always expense associated with, any new technology, and that is it actually reliable. And so there is definite interest in making sure that our pursuits are being, limited and that we're being safe about it. We do look at what those opportunities are. But the reality is, and I said this earlier when I was asked, I said, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, The public expect that those individuals who are doing these type of behaviors are being held accountable. And on the flip side, if we don't do anything about it, then there is the issue of you're not doing enough. And I'd like to also have in this conversation, because we do have a lot of different measures where we have supervisor overview in regards to pursuits or officer override, but we need to still have a conversation about who and why are people recklessly driving. Just because we're in a pursuit, understand that they were recklessly driving before the pursuit. There are individuals who do not care about anyone's safety out there in regards to what they are involved in. But the conversation still revolves around the police. And I'm just perplexed about that from the standpoint, when are we going to put more effort on those who are being in a position where they don't have to put their foot in the pedal? And that it's more than just teenagers, it's more than just young adults, it's everybody. And that's where we really got to start having a reflective look about what is it about our society's behavior, about using a 4,000-pound vehicle as if it was a toy in light of, there is, again, like you talked about Brady Street or North Avenue or Center Street. So it's no easy answer. I know that we continue to look at our, practices. We are looking at technology, but for the most part, from my understanding, especially that this is now I won't say the number one, but it's pretty high that the public wants this to be taken care of or to be intervened in regards to these behaviors out in our city streets.
Hi, Chief. Isaiah Holmes from the Wisconsin Examiner. Much earlier in the conversation, when you were addressing the rise in homicides, you mentioned that a lot of these incidents involve kind of interpersonal conflicts in the community and conflict resolution issues and this sort of thing. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about the nature of some of the violent incidences in the community, whether contributing factors are mental illness or gang violence, quote unquote, or just what are the nature of these kind of interpersonal conflicts that you were mentioning, and then also address whether in your years being a police officer in Milwaukee and living in Milwaukee, whether increasing the amount of people that you're arresting and making sure that the charges that you're issuing them are worse and worse, whether that is the only effective solution that you have seen make an impact in terms of community violence in the community.
So, and I appreciate sometimes questions that they're really challenging to answer. When you talk about interpersonal conflict, how and why does it rise at a level of firearm violence? It's perplexing. The other day we had a situation where an individual was inappropriately touched. She sees the individual who inappropriately touched her, wants to confront that person. In that particular confrontation, someone dies because a firearm was used. I don't know why the police wasn't called when you see someone who has done something harmful to you, why that a firearm was allowed to be used to be that, resolving that particular issue. And those are questions beyond my pay grade in regards to kind of looking down a little bit more deeper. There's a lot of people who are researchers and therapists who understands that. But what we're committed to is the transparency about these situations, to talk to our community partners. We are partners in what's called the VR FAST, Violence Response and Public Health and Safety Teams. where we have these conversations with those who are in that space, mental health, those are in the space of community-based organizations. We do understand that, a lot of unfortunate situations that we see from a homicide or firearm-related is, emotional. So the Milwaukee Police Department do embrace violence interruption. We do embrace in regards to those efforts of those who can help cool down the head so that there is what we call the system two thinking, meaning that you can do a little bit more introspective, reflective, not using just, innate and just go, 0 to 90. So those are tools we embrace and believe that that is helpful in regards to those who have to be able to say, hey, stop. That's not where you want this to go. But do we have mental health challenges in our community? Absolutely. And I believe that there is abilities that we can use from these resources of teaching people, not only, the police department learn de-escalation, but our community learn de-escalation. Learn how to conversate between each other about conflict without it going to a point where it's irreparable because you have just taken a life and now you're going to be held accountable. I do know that we're not going to be able to arrest our way out of this, and that it is important for us as we see these particular time and time again issues, what are we doing about it from a system, not just police department, because there's a lot of, what are you doing about law enforcement? We'll show the numbers. I mean, you can't have almost 80% or over 80% if you're not holding people accountable from that angle. But we as a community should be tired of dealing with, okay, we cleared it. How do we prevent it from happening that we don't even have those numbers? That's the real question. I always talk to the detectives or what we call investigators. It's not about solving the case that we need to be focused on. It's also about how do you prevent the next one? What intelligence are you going to glean from this investigation? That, okay, yes, we found somebody accountable. We got a confession. But how do we and what do we do talking to our district commanders or talking to our community-based partners who are out doing work? What are the intelligence that we need to know to help avoid the next unnecessary death? Because many of these are absolutely, if not all, unnecessary. But it's unfortunate that we see these, unfortunately, way too often, especially post-pandemic.
Chief Adam Roberts, News Radio WTMJ. I hear a lot, and I think members of the media as well, about your pride for this city. You've been with this department for decades at this point. Last year, you were a runner-up for the position in Austin for that police chief position. My question is, what about that job stood out to you as appealing that made you want to apply in the first place? And then to follow up, do you see yourself staying through to retirement as the chief of Milwaukee's police department where you currently reside?
So the first part of that question was I was recruited. So when a particular opportunity comes before you, you check it out. The unfortunate thing about my position is it's all public. There is no guarantee that I was gone. And I said that to many people who understood what this particular process looks like. But it's also a part where things happen for a reason, things come before you. I even said this, it's almost like shopping, you're not hungry. You make better choices. And so I didn't see myself as running away from anything or that, there's a grass greener. I was presented an opportunity. I said I'll be interested to look and see what this opportunity was. And to be honest, I get presented opportunities a lot. I just look at it from the standpoint that I am happy with this particular work. I'm happy to be in this particular privileged position. And I look at it that I am committed to the department and I'm committed to the city.
Okay, I think this will be our last question because we're running out of time.
Levi Stein with Friendship Circle. Just as someone who represents a very vulnerable population, I wanted to say thank you. That's it.
All right.
Thank you back, sir.
So thank you, Chief. Thank you to our media panel. Thank you for your questions. And that wraps our program for today. I have Just a few quick things. Thanks again to our event sponsors and to the Newsroom Pub and Safe House for being the hosting sponsor of this event. If you're not a member of the Milwaukee Press Club and you'd like to be, please go online to the MilwaukeePressClub.org, and all that information is right there. A few things that are coming up. Wednesday, September 17th is the Press Club's annual meeting. The public is certainly invited. We have some fun with that. Wednesday, September 24th is the Milwaukee Public Schools Superintendent will be here. October 2nd is the Archbishop. Archbishop Grob will be here. Hang on, I got it. Turn my page before I forget. Oh, and very important, our Media Hall of Fame. We have a great slate of inductees this year at the St. Kate. That's Friday, October 3rd. So if you're interested in any of those, and I hope you are, please pay attention to our website and to if you're on our email. If you're not, you can see Lexi, our executive director, who is right here. Okay? Thank you so much for being here. Have a good afternoon, and hopefully it won't rain anymore.